I feel like a lot of people work and live their life on like a 25% potential. I'm tired, I did it all, I didn't have time. They're not even getting to their full potential when you could really turn it up a little bit. The unconscious bias is hit because when I arrived to engineering, it's mainly guys. And when you arrive and they're like, what is she doing? She's smart enough to get into college in engineering, top of her school. So even then, at early 20s, I was seeing people thinking that I couldn't do it. And I didn't understand why, other than just the fact of my gender and the way I looked. It's like, this didn't equal smart. And I love proving people wrong. It's in my DNA.
If industry has to change their image, what should they do more and more?
I always tell people who are maybe against the industry, I'll say, come join the industry and be part of the process and of the change that you want to see. We want lower emissions. We want a lower barrel in terms of footprint. And so instead of staying on the guidelines and protesting against the industry, I tell everybody, go study something great in engineering or something where you can go in tech and come join us. Because we are the future.
How do you juggling your life as an oil and gas professional, then as a podcaster, and now you're a mom as well, and also the fitness journey?
I'll start off with this thing that I always tell people where I have 5 priorities. And they're 5 priorities that I think people are usually shocked when they hear me say them.
This is the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show, where we are going to invite industry leaders to talk about their journeys and also technologies of tomorrow, in an effort to break some of the biases that might have formed around this energy industry. Hello everyone, I hope you're happy and healthy. I'm Ananja and you're listening to the Oil and Gas Breaking Bias show. This show is about the leaders who have made it big in this energy industry while breaking some of the biases around them. And today I'm very happy because we will be joined by one of the trailblazers of oil and gas industry, Massiel Diez, who has started her career as a chemical field engineer at Alberta, Canada. And now she wears multiple hats as a businesswoman, podcast co-founder, and advocate of women empowerment at the workplace. She also co-hosts Flipping the Barrel podcast that discuss inspiring journey and real-life experiences. Massiel is also a fitness lover, wife, and a mom that proves you can ace all the fronts while staying true to yourself. Her journey is a perfect mix of achievements and ambition. So without further delay, let's welcome Massiel. Massiel, welcome.
Thank you so much for the invitation and for asking me to come on your podcast. I'm delighted and I'm excited for today's interview.
Well, thank you. And before this podcast, we were talking about how we were connected and we learned about we both immigrated to Canada and now we both are in US
Texas.
and US, Texas. And also we are both part of oil and gas industry. So I'm looking forward for our really great discussion today.
Thank you.
As I said, I will stop talking and it's all about you. So I will really appreciate if you can talk about yourself and what are the biases you might have faced and how you overcame those biases that help you to reach wherever you are today.
Thank you for the question. To your point, I immigrated to Montreal in Canada when I was 4 years old with my mother and my grandmother. And it was for a better future. I think a lot of people have immigrated to Canada for that, quote unquote American dream, but really the Canadian dream of just something better for your kids. And that was kind of ingrained in me from a young age that I had to do something great, that I had to go to McGill University, that I had to become someone. There wasn't a specific degree that I had to do, but it had to be in science. It had to be in STEM. And that really came from my mom, who's a microbiologist. She's the first in her family who went to college. And so she really wanted to push a career on me. And so I followed the footsteps into college and I ended up going to McGill as a chemical engineer. I had no idea what I was going to do with this degree. I didn't know what an engineer did. I just knew that I had to be super smart and be the best in my class because that was what was expected of me. And I think even just there, the unconscious bias is hit because when I arrived to engineering, it's mainly guys. And when you arrive and they're like, what is she doing? She's smart enough to get into college in engineering, top of her school. So even then, at early 20s, I was seeing people thinking that I couldn't do it. And I didn't understand why, other than just the fact of my gender and the way I looked. It's like, this didn't equal smart. And I love proving people wrong. It's in my DNA. And I was like, I'm going to be the best in my class. I'm going to be the best engineer. I'm going to have the highest GPA. And that's what I did during college. I just literally just studied like crazy. I had very little friends. I had very little social life. I just wanted to be the best in school, and with hopes to get a good job. Because at the end of the day, the financial aspect was also a huge driver for me. Just immigrating to Canada, you see the struggles of the parents, and money's not easy. And I just thought I need financial freedom at some point, and engineering's going to give me this. From there, SLB at the time came to the career fair. I had never heard of them before. I had never heard of Schlumberger, but there was a poster of a girl that really caught my attention. And I always say it, but representation does matter. The girl was wearing blue coveralls and she had stilettos on one foot and steel toes on the other. And I thought, that's me. Like, I'm already in engineering. I already don't fit in. And it seems like this company is attracting me. They're trying to talk to people like me to go work in the field. And I applied just because of the poster. And I was lucky enough to be an intern that summer in frac in Grand Prairie in Canada. And that was kind of really the start of my oil field career. It came by luck. I was not looking for the oil and gas industry. I was not looking for a field engineering role, but it just worked out. And so that's kind of what kicked me off. I've been in the industry now for about 12 years.
And let's talk about your engineering journey. How was the transition from Montreal to Alberta?
So it was quite interesting because you don't know about oil and gas at all in Montreal or in Quebec. And the other thing that I found interesting is I had spent almost 20 years of my life living in Montreal, and I had never really heard of Alberta other than like they're just like farmland and like oil field people, right? Like
I
very
know.
disconnected from the rest of Canada. And when I arrived there, I saw just opportunity everywhere. And I really loved Alberta. I loved their way of thinking, the farms, the big land, and just opportunity because there were so many jobs and people were making good money compared to Montreal, where it's quite saturated, as well as Toronto. And so I saw Alberta as just a land of opportunity. So I really embraced moving there.
And I can really say this is the problem with oil and gas industry. They never talk about them enough.
No, we
You
don't.
talked about like how that poster helped you to that help you to bring it to this industry.
Mm-hmm.
And also, as you say, like Montreal or Quebec or Alberta, they're all part of the same country, but
We don't know anything about them.
you don't know anything about the industry, how that one province is different than others. And that, I think, diversity comes handy because we need all kind of industry to survive and to grow as a country. So how was your overall career experience in Alberta, and how did you move from Alberta to US?
So I started as a field engineer in my career in wireline, and I personally just loved it. It's a very difficult job. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but there was some weird attraction to it where I just like, you just like the adventure, you like the ups and downs, you like pain a little bit. You have to be a little crazy to love this job. But I just enjoyed the hanging out with a bunch of people for the same mission, getting the job done, getting that ticket signed, and moving on to the next rig. There was this accomplishment behind a very difficult operation that we got to do as a team. And also, I'm not going to lie, there was an aspect of the money that came with it because there's a reason why they pay you, because you're suffering out on the field 24/7, away from home, away from, society. You're in the middle of nowhere. You live in a man camp. They have to compensate you for that. And so I was young and hungry, and I felt like this was just a perfect opportunity for me to make some money, but also I was growing a lot professionally, just getting to meet all these people from different walks of life, operators, company men, people on the drilling rig. Like, I just really enjoyed it.
It's
And I would
different world.
say I just liked it. It was so fun. I wasn't in a corporate environment. I was in the middle of nowhere by myself. As long as you just get the job done, they don't bother you. Just go get the job done, go get the money for the company, and you're good. And then you go on days off where you can disconnect. You can turn off your laptop, you turn off your phone, and you go out for 2 weeks or a week or how long you had off, and you can go travel, disconnect. A lot of jobs, you don't have that disconnection where you're like, everything can burn down, but I'm on my days off. And so, I really enjoyed that balance of work, 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 take a break, enjoy your life, work, 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 take a break. And so I did that for 5.5 years. And I left Alberta in 2018 and they moved me to Midland. So I moved to Midland and I was there for about 1.5 years, still working in the field. And after that, they moved me into business development. So the rest of my career has really been sales right after the field.
I think it's pretty much like me
Yeah.
because I was also in Alberta working in oil sands, and we were talking about that one before, correct?
Yes.
So from commissioning, I also moved into business development and then into sales later. So pretty much same career path. I could say that. And also, when you talk about Alberta, temperature can go crazy there. Winters
It
can
was
be minus 40,
freezing.
minus 50. It's a freezing winter.
Yes.
And when I was moving to Alberta, a hiring manager was telling me, like it can go to minus 40, minus 50. And it's like, will you able to survive? And it's like, I don't know because
Yeah.
I've never experienced minus 40, minus 50 in
Yeah.
my life before, but it's
Yeah.
brutal. But on the other side, you get a fruit out of it because you put all the hard work, you
Yeah.
do the real work, and they pay you well, and also you learn a lot when you work in the field. How you see this industry is moving today? What changes you might see from where you have started 10 years ago and where the industry today with respect to career and also the business?
It. So I think in the last decade that I've been in the industry, it's been quite interesting to see the evolution from, I think when I joined, we're still quite old school, where, maybe safety wasn't as important as it's been developing over the years because they keep getting better and better in safety and more enforcement on it. And then also, I think like the professionalism of the oil field from the field has evolved in the sense that I think things that were okay 10 years ago on a drilling rig are not okay today. And I think companies have moved towards that. Quick example, you would go to the doghouse and there would be posters of naked women all over the doghouse. And that was, I guess, accepted because that was everywhere. And I never questioned it because I'm like, this is their world. I'm just here. So I wasn't complaining. I just thought this is the industry. I would say today, that's no longer the case. It's changed quite a bit where it's become a lot more professional. Companies have realized like we need to treat this almost like it's an office. And so I would say like we've moved in a really good path when it comes to certain aspects of the professionalism of the industry. Another thing that I noticed was a lot of the times when I was out on the rigs, a lot of the companies that would work, that were small little companies that would work for the drilling rig, they would have names or logos that were quite like not acceptable today, where again, I just thought it was the industry, like a lady hanging from a pipe as their logo is normal. You don't see that anymore today, or at least it's not as accepted. So I would say we've moved in a really good path. In terms of the business, I think companies have realized, to your point, that we are such an important part of the world and we power the world, but we don't market enough to the individuals who don't know about our industry, where we need to showcase that we are good, that we do quite a bit of things in the countries where we work. We are involved in so many things. If you actually go look at Shell, Chevron, a lot of the operators, they give back. They've got charities, they give back to the environment, they open schools where they work. I mean, but we don't market it enough. So people just associate oil and gas as bad.
Yes.
And so I think in the last few years, definitely before COVID, companies were starting to realize that. And I see a lot more marketing towards come join us, come
Yes.
join this industry and kind of shining a positive light on it, which is also what we did with Flip in the Barrel, trying to highlight the industry in a positive way. And then on the whole energy transition, I think what's really interesting is a lot of the new technologies and even startups are coming from the industry. And so I always tell people who are maybe against the industry, I'll say, come join the industry and be part of the process and of the change that you want to see. If you want to change something, come work here, help us get better because we want to be greener. We want lower emissions. We want a lower barrel in terms of footprint. And so instead of staying on the guidelines and protesting against the industry, I tell everybody, go study something great in engineering or something where you can go in tech and come join us because we are the future. We're the ones who are going to be in place to change where we head. And so I think it's a super attractive industry. And I tell everybody that, when I joined 10 years ago, I remember hearing like, oh, oil and gas is dead. You shouldn't go to a career there. No more fossil fuels. We're at the peak. I mean, you name it. That's what everybody would say. But I think we're in the right industry where it's evolving in the right footsteps.
I fully agree. The few things you already hit about the culture and the diversity of this industry. I also see it has changed a lot. But on the other side, this industry is poor in marketing.
Yeah.
We don't talk about enough good about this industry. But as we know, we are using so many things which is driven by this industry. Like it's not just about the energy. Any plastic that you use is made of petrochemical, and lots of medicine, they're based on petrochemicals. So it's touching our life on day-to-day basis. The other thing I really liked what you just said, don't complain, be part of this change. And I
Yes.
fully agree. And because it's easy to complain about all these things, about emissions, about the industry, how dirty it can be. But if you have a technology, if you have an idea, now this industry is encouraging those ideas. And there are really new startups, and they are started to make difference, bringing new ideas and innovation to the industry. And the last thing I'll say, we are hearing about this industry is dying from many decades.
Yes.
But I could tell you it's not happening.
Yes. Almost everyone that, I've spoken to or we've interviewed on the podcast in the past, they said, I graduated in the 70s and they said there was a boom. I graduated in the 80s and they said, don't go there. I graduated in 2013. They said, don't go there. You just realize it's just been years and years of the same narrative. But we're not going anywhere. I think people just need to realize
definitely, that. Definitely. And this industry is innovating itself. So it's not going to die. The money will be there, and there will be new innovation, and that's it's bringing today. And the change, the energy transition we are talking about is not going to happen without this industry, because you need the money to fund those technologies and those innovations. So that's great. You have already talked about your podcast, Flipping the Barrel. Let's talk about more about it, because you mentioned about you are also trying to do what I'm trying to do with this podcast, to breaking some of the biases around leaders and also some of the biases around this industry. But let's talk about your podcast, how it's similar or different, and what you are doing there.
Yeah, so we started Flipping the Barrel 5 years ago. We have over 180 episodes, and so we started in 2019. And the two reasons why we started was A, we wanted to shine a positive light on the energy industry, because we felt, to your point, where people saw us as this big, bad industry, right? Dirty industry. And we were in the industry thinking, it's such a great industry. I've had a great career. I really love what I do. We power the world. People don't understand how valuable energy is to the rest of the world. And so, A, we wanted to create content around marketing for these oil and gas companies that really should be doing it, but just kind of highlighting the industry. And second, we wanted career advice from professionals, because as we were both going through our careers, we didn't have corporate America or, corporate international parents who could talk to us at the dinner table about performance reviews. How do you ask for a raise? How does an international move go? How do you adapt to cultures? How do you adapt to the corporate world when you come from the field, etc.? We just didn't have parents that work not just in the industry, but just in professional places. And so we were wondering, can we really have kids? Does this mean our career's over? Can we really do this? How do you navigate a career that is so complex at times? We didn't have advice. We didn't have mentors at the time. And so we thought through this podcast, kind of to your point, listening from people's journeys, those are your mentors. I tell people, you want a mentor, just go listen to any podcast about people's career journey or life journeys, and you can learn from people who've already done what you're trying to do. And so we really focused on C-suite executives or, VPs, presidents, where we were like, okay, they quote unquote made it. What did you do to get there? As we were both quite ambitious in our careers, and we said, what does it take to become a CEO? And a lot of it too is, even before 2019, I felt like leadership was not visible in the sense that we don't know anything about them. Are they married? Do they have kids? Where are they from? Where did they start? What's their career journey? They were quite just very reserved. And I think old school leadership was like, you should know nothing about me, right? While as today in 2024, almost 2025, it's like, hey, we need to know what your favorite coffee is. We need to know what you put in your coffee.
Definitely. And if you see the tech industry, where all the CEOs, they are very visible and they're everywhere,
So I think we were a little bit ahead of the time in the sense that we were asking C-suite people to be personable, to be human, to open up about their struggles, the ups and downs, everything. We all go through life, don't pretend everything's perfect. And because we were seeing that from other industries, we wanted to bring it to the industry. And so that was really the reasons for the podcast. And like I said, 5 years later, we're still excited to be doing it because we've brought a lot of value to the industry, but also for ourselves, because I feel like I get free coaching from leaders every time we do a podcast,
And also one thing I like to mention, this podcast is not easy.
It's a lot of work.
Lots of efforts.
Yeah.
And I'm doing from last 2 months, and I could say that it takes efforts. but on the other side, it brings value. Yeah, it
Brings
brings
value.
value to the people around you. It brings value to the industry.
Yeah.
And that motivates us to keep doing this thing. You also talk about visibility of leadership. I think we can talk more about it. I have also felt is quite low in energy industry. And we can learn a lot from the tech industry, as I was mentioning before. And I was reading somewhere the company value also determined by the leadership
Yes.
and how much that person is active in the social media and the digital media, because people could relate that leader with that company.
Yes.
And in the past, it was not like that. But I think we are moving in that direction where the visibility is very important. It's not about your results. It's not about your earning calls.
No, it's
It's
not.
about you as an individual.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think we're both in the US. We just saw the whole presidential debate over the last 6 months. Where were they? They were on social media. They were
Yes,
on
you're right.
TikTok. They were on Instagram. They were
Everywhere.
on LinkedIn. They were on podcasts. They were
Definitely.
on Joe Rogan, on everywhere, right?
Everywhere.
And
Yes.
it just shows you that the landscape has changed when it comes to getting people to buy into your company, into you, into wanting to be employees. 30 plus years ago, you would have loyal employees that were going to be there for 30 years. You had a pension, you had all these things, and they didn't necessarily care too much about who was the CEO because there was all these other perks. I
Yeah,
would say
definitely.
today, a lot of people are judging where they go work fully depending on who the founder is, who the CEO is, who their leadership is, and whether or not they fit something that they relate or that they look up to. We've had people tell us that their children, teenagers now or late teens, chose the company where they wanted to work on because they liked the podcast. They felt that the leader was so genuine and they seem to have a good culture, so they want to go work there. Those
Yes.
are some decision factors for the young people today. And even I would say for employees, marketing is important externally. It's just as important when you market internally, because this is the people you want to engage and you want them to want to work for you or feel like they have the same vision. And so I think when leaders are more open of where they're going, where it's a two-way communication, where they're transparent, it makes you want to be part of the journey because you feel like you're engaged and you
Yes,
feel
you're
like
right.
you can relate to their shortcomings, to their failures. And that's why I say when leaders can open up and be a little bit vulnerable, it goes a super long way versus if you pretend everything's good.
I fully agree. So personal branding
So important. Yeah.
is very important. And I think what you just said, I think that's also true for the individuals.
Yes.
Those days are gone if you just stuck in one of the cubicle and doing your job and hoping like somebody will notice you.
Yeah.
It might be still true, but I will say personal branding is important. So try to bring new ideas. Try to think outside the box, because whatever you're doing, that is already expected from you.
Yes.
Those are your work KPIs. But if you want to grow in your career, or also if you want to grow as an individual, you have to do things outside the box.
Yeah. Agree fully.
Okay, so switching a topic here, there's very interesting discussion. But going back, how you immigrated from Colombia to Canada, from Canada to US now, if you have to relive your journey, what changes you might make?
So I think looking back at the last 12 years, I don't really think that I would change anything because it wouldn't take me to where I am today, which is a position where I'm very happy with where I am. So I think if I would have changed and maybe not failed the way I failed in a certain aspect, or if I wouldn't have done something that maybe delayed a promotion, or, like when you're trying to think like what could have got me ahead and I would have been better off, I don't think I would be where I am right now, where I feel happy with the last 12 years. And I would say the hardest part of the last 12 years has been staying true to myself, because I always felt like I did not fit in to corporate, to the company, to the industry. You name it, I've always been an outlier. So it's been quite hard to navigate a very cookie cutter path that we all go on with a career, and trying to kind of stay true to myself. And I feel like I always have stayed true to myself, regardless of the consequences, whether I was held back from a promotion, whether I wasn't given a promotion, whatever it is, I always made sure that I was authentic to myself. And so I don't know. I don't think I would necessarily change much, other than the mindset sometimes is, and I think a lot of us do this, is the one advice that I would give to people is I felt like I went through my career, even now in the last 12 years, trying to rush through it, trying to get to the next step, to the next this, to the next the. And when you just sit down and think about it, the whole joy of a career is really the journey and like the day to day and like the achieving those little steps towards something versus flying through and then you're like, okay, I made it. And then what? And so I think if moving forward, I am definitely more on I'm just going to take my time. I'm not in a rush to get anywhere. While as I felt like a lot of us finish college and it's instilled in us that we need to rush to XYZ and we need to be here by 35 and we need to be here by 40. And if not, I'm a failure. A lot of us have this thing. And in the last few years, I've realized like, there's no point in rushing, like just enjoy the journey. And that's where I'm at right now, just trying to enjoy the journey without really trying to get anywhere.
That reminds me of one story. When I was doing MBA in Canada, so we had a workshop and everybody's talking about their goals. And at that time, I was like early 30s. So They asked me, what's your goal? I said, I don't know. And everybody was surprised. Like, how possible you don't know your goals? It's like that could happen because still I'm figuring out what to do. Yeah. And instead of putting like, okay, this is my goal and just achieving that goal and then going to next step, it's also very important to enjoy your journey. Because sometimes we forget to enjoy that journey. We think when we achieve that goal, it will be
happy
different life.
And no,
no, there's no change. There's no change in your life. So it's very important to enjoy your journey as part of your life. Just building on it. How do you juggling your life as a professional, oil and gas professional? Then as a podcaster, and now you're a mom as well, and also the fitness journey.
Yes.
How do you balance all those things,
So I love this question because it gets asked all the time, where people are quite curious of, how do you do all of this, right? And I find when I get those kind of questions, it's interesting for me because I'm like, do what? Like, I don't see it as hard, maybe. And I think it's all mindset in a way where I've never put self-limiting beliefs of that I could do this and this and this. I truly think, yes, you can't be the best at everything at all times at the same time. I'll start off with this thing that I always tell people where I have 5 priorities. And they're 5 priorities that I think people are usually shocked when they hear me say them. But then when you really sit down and understand, you're like, okay, I understand. And this makes sense. So I'll start off. And I feel like with these priorities is how I can really live a fulfilling life doing all of the things in the buckets. I start with taking care of myself first, my mental health. What does that mean? How I talk to myself, what I think about, because what you think about is what you become. So I really protect my mental health first before anything else. I didn't say my husband. I didn't say my daughter. I didn't say my work. People are like, what about your family? No, you need to take care of you first and what you put in your mind. Second, I take care of my body and my health. Again, before, what about your daughter, right? Okay. You take care of your body and your health. And what does that mean is you need to be happy with who you are. You need to be confident with who you are, that you feel good, you look good, you're in shape, you're in health, you can run after your kid at 60 years old and still be fit, etc. Because I feel like these are the pillars and the foundation, so how you can make everything else work. I see too many times when you become a mother, you forget about yourself. And it's all about the children, it's all about your husband, and you're filling everybody's cup. And then you wonder why you're unhappy, why you're unfulfilled, why you're not getting to where you want to go, because you first need to take care of you first. Then third, my third priority is my husband and my marriage. Again, people find it quite weird when you talk about your spouse before your children, right? Children is a big thing, and it is. But I put my husband first because I feel like the foundation of a family is really your partner before you have kids. If you have a good marriage, you're highlighting the kind of partner that you want for your children. You're also showing your children that you have a happy household of 2 parents that are putting each other first before the children. And then I put in my daughter, of course, family and kids, because I feel like when I am good, I could be a good mom because I'm happy. I took care of me. I could take care of her. I could be my best version for her and for my husband. And then last is my career. So I put my career last because I feel like when I am I feel good about myself. I take care of myself, take care of my family. I'm happy at home. I take care of my children. I'm happy with how I am as a mom. I'm going to be the best employee out there. because I'm fulfilled in all the other areas that make me the best employee. And so those are my top priorities, and kind of how I make it all work is you have to be disciplined. There is no magic recipe. It just comes down to discipline and consistency. So I don't miss a workout. I have no excuses. I don't believe in excuses. I'm tired. I didn't sleep. I don't care. You got to go. And so waking up early, getting my workout in, taking care of myself is just part of my daily routine. There is no, what if I can't work out today? It's going to happen. I don't care if it has to be at midnight because I didn't have time today. It's going to get done. And so I feel like a lot of people work and live their life on like a 25% potential. I'm tired. I did it all. I didn't have time. Yes. They're not even getting to their full potential when you could really turn it up a little bit.
Yes.
I think we all live in a lot of excuses.
Always.
And just start removing that and you'll see how much more you can do, because we all have the same time. I have the same time 24 hours as everybody else. How can I do all of these things and still be successful? It comes down to my priorities. How many people are scrolling on social media all day long? TikTok, Instagram, added no value to their life when they could be doing X, Y, Z. And so I love answering that question because I hope when people hear this, they can have like a little light bulb and say, she's right. Okay, I'm going to start tomorrow. Unfortunately, a lot of people never start, or they say they'll start and they don't. And so I really encourage people, we only have one life. And so make sure you're getting the most out of it, and go to bed early, wake up early.
I like that way you have put your priorities the other way around, because most of the people, they start from the kids, and then
career,
career, and then the health and everything comes at the end. And I see myself like that as well. I always say, like, you put fitness as your first priority, because if you're mentally and physically healthy,
you could do anything.
Then everything will flow.
Yes.
As part of it, And right now I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits.
I love that book. Yes.
If you read that
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that book is also talk about how these habits can be part of your personality.
Mm-hmm.
So your goal can be to lose weight, but that's not your personality. But if you want to look good, then it's part of your personality.
Yeah, that's a great book.
I'm midway right now. I started reading last week, but nice. it talks about all those things. How you can make changes into your life within the time we have. We all have 24 hours, so we have to decide what is important for us. What should be our priority. That's great. Actually, you have already answered my next question, but let me ask just to summarize everything. If you have to pick one key takeaway for our listeners, what it would be?
So, like, one piece of advice?
Yes.
I would say, looking at my career, or even looking at the career of many people that I'm friends with, or peers or colleagues, etc., is you already mentioned it, which is your personal brand. I don't think enough people have focused on it. They've never understood the importance of it. If anything, I think they probably thought I was crazy of like, why am I doing social media, and why does this matter? You're in corporate America. Like, this doesn't matter. It does. And it's going to continue to matter more and more. And so I really encourage people to figure out what drives you, what are some of the hobbies that you like, and how can you turn your personal brand into helping your career, because they go hand in hand at the end of the day. If that's what you want, you can go onto the entrepreneurial path and become, speaker, influencer, social media expert, whatever, or you can use the same personal branding and add it to your corporate career. So I'll give you an example. And to your point, you've mentioned so many people I see work super hard. They're smart. They should get the promotion. I mean, they've done it all. They checked off every single box, but they still don't get it. And a lot of times is because they're not standing out. And so to your point is maybe back in the day, you could work really hard, put your head down, and you would get recognized and you would get the recognition. That doesn't happen anymore. Unfortunately, I see that a lot of people who maybe are half qualified that you are, but they've got a good network and they know people and they're visible, they're going to get the job. And so I think it's really opened up my eyes that, hey, you don't have to be the hardest working person in the room. Sometimes they just get stuck behind on it. And as long as you have a very good network, you're visible, you're putting out value, or building a strong personal brand where somehow you're bringing value. Again, you got to bring value to the company, to your peers, to your network. That sometimes overpasses hard work. And so I would say if you're in your career and you're working really hard and you're kind of frustrated at the system or at the fact that you haven't got the promotion that you want, even though you got an MBA, even though you did this, you have 15 years in, you work 100 hours a week, you're in the office every day, and you're still not getting what you want, I think look a little bit and realize that your personal brand needs to evolve. Because if it doesn't, people who are good at their job but have a strong personal brand are going to get ahead of you. And unfortunately, that's just the way it is. That's the way the future is. Branding is so important. And so I would say if there's one thing you can take away from this is start being a little bit more visible, start putting out content on LinkedIn, start talking about the things that you enjoy. And again, networking is key. Your network is your net worth. I always tell everybody. I think it's something that you're not taught. It's something that I never knew was a thing. But I think as you go through your career, you realize, wow, it's really who you know at times. That's how a lot of people get jobs. They worked with you 20 years ago, 10 years ago, your buddies, your friends. And unfortunately, that's just a reality. And so make sure you have a good network of people that support you and that want to see you grow in your career because it's going to go a long way.
Definitely. And this networking becomes so easy these days.
Yes. You can reach out to whoever you want on LinkedIn.
Definitely. Lots of information available, lots of content available, So it's available via podcast and also lots of videos. And also social media is there. So if you're using the social media, use it for the right reason.
For the right reasons, 100%.
Reason. Really great discussion. I won't let you go before we talk about something that what you're doing and like you're talking about the personal branding and also the changing the image of this industry. So we only talked about some of the biases, but again, I have one question: if industry has to change their image, what should they do more and more?
I would say we already do a lot of great things. We power the world. We are constantly working on making energy more affordable. I mean, still a lot of people live in energy poverty. We are trying to make energy more efficient in terms of a cheaper way of powering the world. And I think my advice to just companies is you need to market what you're already doing. We don't have to go and change and pretend to be somebody we're not. We're already doing so many fabulous things for the world. Start marketing that, start talking about it, start highlighting it, because at the end of the day, we need to change the average person who's out on the street and doesn't know anything about oil and gas and see us as maybe like doctors who are saving lives. We kind of are in a way. Without energy, we're not going to power that hospital. And without power, whoever's on a machine or whatever, there's no life. So I think we need to market somehow what we are already doing so that people can see us in the same eyes as a doctor or as somebody that's doing something great for the world, because we are. And we don't have to lie about what we're doing. We just need to highlight what we're doing.
I think you're well summarized. Nothing moves without energy.
Nothing.
So we already talked about this. Industry is going to be there forever. And I think we can all help to promote the positivity about this industry. So with that, Massiel, we have to stop. But I have really enjoyed all the discussion, and we started like how you can juggle or you can ace all the fronts at the same time if you keep your priority right.
Yes.
That's more important. And also we talked about the personal branding. I think that's very important. We talked about the leadership, and also important for individuals who are ambitious, who wants to grow in their career or in the business that they are doing. And the last not the least, this industry is important. We are all part of this community. But before we sign off, Massiel, anything to add here? What I just said?
No, I think my one message is really, I've been going through a lot of like self-discovery journey in the last few months, I would say. And I think my key message to everybody is to stop for a moment, take a look in the mirror and realize, am I going where I want to go? So to your point on the goals, it's normal to not necessarily know because we don't have this destination figured out yet necessarily. But I think the flip side of what I've seen, and I've been part of this myself, where we've been sitting in a vehicle that's been driven by somebody else our whole lives, whether it was what I had to become, who I had to be, what a career I had to do. This is the step, here's the ladder. And we all kind of just go through life not driving, not being in the seat where you are steering your career, your life, whatever that is. And so I would say anybody listening to the podcast, just stop, reflect. Am I going where I want to go? And if not, and it's very easy to know because your gut will tell you you're in the right direction or not, is make big changes today so that you can be where you want to be in the next year or 5 years. Because I think the steps that you do today is why you're going to be where you want to be in 5 years. If you don't start today, this year is going to look the same as in 5 years. So if you're not happy with how this year looked, what are you doing to change? Because at the end of the day, if you don't change, nothing's going to change. And so I go back to just take a look in the mirror and reflect on, is this the journey you want to be on? Because I think a lot of people don't even realize that they're just in somebody else's journey. And so that's my
That
last.
pause is needed. I think that pause is needed to plan for your future. So thank you so much, Massiel. I really enjoyed all the conversation. And with that, I will sign off today. Keep listening. Oil and Gas Making by Show. Take care. Have a good day.